Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that, and you know, I have my I've been talking about it a lot, but I think the best thing to do would be for me to finish the game and then kind of gather all my thoughts. But I think that this is part of the modern Final Fantasy age, and a lot of people just hate the modern Final Fantasy age, so they just blindly say it's not Final Fantasy. But then there's people that enjoy modern Final Fantasy and still think that this is a bit of a reach. Like it's even further past modern Final Fantasy and into this new realm of, like, you know, being so far away from genuine RPGs that, you know, it kind of worries them. And that I understand. I think I'm kind of in that group as well. Where, like, even though I'm a modern Final Fantasy enjoyer, and I also think that Final Fantasy, you know, should change, and that Square Enix is doing right by changing it and making it more modern and having it continue to survive in today's gaming ecosystem, I do think that this might be a bit of a stretch. It really is so far removed from regular Final Fantasy in terms of the gameplay. But, you know, I'm kind of torn at the moment, because I do think the story fits very well and a lot of the things fit very well. So, kind of want to finish the game and then really consider everything together, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now. But regardless, still a good game. Not fond of the mature rating. How's come? I'm actually kind of curious to hear why. Is it because all the other games are T and this one's randomly M? Or do you just not like M-rated games? Or what's your reasoning behind that? Hey, it's not a cup noodle ad, so that's that's a good thing. You can't process Final Fantasy nudity? I'm not really on that boat, honestly. I think that all the games kind of have a bit of at least partial nudity with stuff like Shiva and Siren, and like it's always had that Greek mythology-esque like nudity, but not really nudity to it. And it's always tackled more serious issues. Even stuff like, you know, a lot of the things that 6 tackles are like really mature themes. So it doesn't really surprise me as much. The cursing, I mean, look at 7. 7 has a lot of cursing. 8 has some. 9 doesn't have any, I don't think. 10 doesn't really have any. I think pretty much, it's weird. 7 is a bit of an outlier with that. I mean, it fits the world of 7, but it is kind of an outlier when you think about it. 7 had censored cursing and not censored cursing. And none of the other games really have much cursing, censored or not. Especially after 7. 8 had a little bit, but then like 9, 10, 12, 13 are like completely clean, aren't they? So kind of interesting. 7's kind of an outlier there. But no, I think personally, like, I get it. I definitely get playing the series up to this point and then suddenly like playing this and getting pretty much nudity, or, you know, it's more of like, It's still partial nudity, but it's inferred nudity, you know? And getting, like, constant F-bombs and stuff, you know? So it is kind of a jump. But for me, I think that the whole series isn't necessarily E for everyone. And for this game, with the world it's trying to build and the medieval setting and the fact that, like Mecha said, a lot of us are older now. A lot of Final Fantasy fans are older now. It just kind of fits, I think. But to play devil's advocate, the M rating to me is strange in terms of selling the game. Because I said this before, I don't understand why Square Enix would make a game like this that seems to try to pander to... Well, I feel like it kind of panders to a younger audience a little bit, like with the tutorials and the fact that it's like a Netflix show turned into a game. I mean, you might say that's more of a young adult thing, but I still think it does kind of pander a little bit to a younger audience, or at least a newer audience. But then you give it a hard M rating. I feel like if they were trying to... Because Square is always trying to stretch to as many people as possible. So the way you do that is you make the game T. Because T games sell more, you know. Well, is that true though? I think M-rated games actually sell more because, like I said before, kids buy what their older brothers are playing. So maybe that was the idea. But the fact that it's a Netflix show turned into a game, I think that the M rating makes sense. That's what they were going for. They're going for Game of Thrones, the game. They're going for the raunchy, yeah, you know, that style. So it just makes sense for it to be M. But I get it. I get the kind of shock of, like, at the very worst, you had Barrett dropping D bombs, you know? At the very worst, you had censored cussing in 7 and, like, D words and stuff, right? And then you get to hear and people are just dropping F-bombs like crazy, like F, 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 like 5 times in one sentence, you know? Like, it is quite a jump. And then, like, actual nudity, as close to nudity as it can possibly be without being nudity, which I find really funny. I think that's hilarious. Like, the fact that they wanted it to be M, but because they're Square Enix, they, like, couldn't commit to full nudity, so they just get as close as humanly possible. Like, to the point where it's, like, right there that it switches camera angle. Like, it just cracks me up. But I think they fit because of the setting and the way that the story's told. But it's just funny. It's just funny to me that it's like, okay, let's get as close as we can possibly get, and then quickly switch camera angle. Like, I almost feel like they should have just committed, to be honest. I mean, look at something like God of War. God of War sold so well, and that just had straight up nudity and sex scenes. But, you know, like we've said, kids buy what their older brother's playing. And when you sell an M-rated game, you know, it still sells probably just as good, honestly. I don't know the research behind that, but I would find it hard to believe that making a game M-rated actually, like, hurts its sales. Did they stop? No. No, God of War 1, 2, and 3 all have sex scenes. After that, they stopped them, though. I'm trying to remember if Ascension had a sex scene. I don't remember. I don't think it does. I don't remember. I only played through Ascension once. Well, I platinumed it, but I never played it again. It still has nudity. I know that. But I don't remember if it has a sex scene or not. Yeah, I think that was the case. But it still had nudity. But 1, 2, and 3 all had specific sex minigames. And then they cut that out when they rebooted it. The reboot's not even, I mean, it's still M, but it's not even nudity. Do you guys think that nudity sells worse? I genuinely think that M-rated games do not sell worse. I mean, just look at GTA, right? But do you think, like, full nudity sells worse? Do you think that's why they took it out of... Well, I think they took it out of the new God of War because they just kind of went a new direction with it. It just wouldn't really fit as well. I mean, the reason it was in the original God of War is because of the Greek mythology and stuff. It just fit. But I am kind of curious. I wonder if it sells worse. I wonder if this game would have sold worse if they had full nudity. I'd be curious to know how many, like, younger than 18-year-olds played this game. Because it just doesn't seem like it's geared towards a younger audience. You know? I kind of agree with what Mecha said. I think that they kind of geared this towards their audience that's growing older now. And just the general gaming audience that... The RPG audience has grown a bit older, you know? The gaming audience is still young, but they're all playing Fortnite, so they're kind of targeting their RPGs towards the young adult range where they know a lot of RPG fans are at. Which makes sense. But see, yeah, that's the counter argument though, is like GTA is full of kids. So I don't know. But I do think that's what they were going for with this game. But I would be curious to know how many kids are playing this. Because it definitely does not seem geared towards them. But like I said, neither is GTA. Yeah, I don't know much about that. I kind of want to do the research, and I'm just kind of curious, like, because I know in the past there's been games that got an M rating, and then they changed some stuff to get it down to a T rating. Final Fantasy VII is one example. There are interviews where they said they were afraid of getting an M rating and tried to curve stuff so they could stay at a T rating, I believe. Almost positive there is. So I'm interested how much proof there is that T games sell better than M games, or if there is any. I was going to take down. We just got through the Titan stuff, and now we just met mid. We're on the third cup noodle side quest. Yeah, it's interesting. But I do think making this game M was the right choice. Even if it does kind of feel strange playing 15, running around with a cup noodle hat, and fighting goofy turtles, and then going to this and having people dropping 4 F-bombs in a row. Like, it's definitely a shock, but to me it's a shock in a good way, you know? Because in my opinion, and this is more of a my opinion thing, but in my opinion, 15 was too goofy. So, if you're trying to make this game serious, if you're trying to make it stand out as a serious entry in the series, I think it's a good idea to give it an M rating and start it off with what it started off with, because this game started off like, we're not kidding around. You know what I mean? So I think it was smart for them to do that. If they had started this game with like a goofy Moogle and stuff, it wouldn't have gotten across that it's trying to be serious. But remember how this game started. Freaking Mortal Kombat scenes, you know? So it really tried to right away be like, guys, listen, like, this is a serious story. There's nothing wrong with 15 being a goofy story, but I'm just saying, like, if you play 15 and then you play this, you might be expecting a more lighthearted, goofy, silly game, right? With some serious story aspects, but like, you know, in between the seriousness, we got some goofiness. But this game starts off, people are dropping F-bombs, people are getting Mortal Kombat finished, blood everywhere, heads rolling, you know? So they really try to say like, hey, this is serious. You know what I mean? I think they do a good job with that. It really got me in the mood right away. Right away, I was like, okay, this is a serious story, like, got me in the mood, right? So I think they did a good job with that. You think it's too serious? I would disagree, but the frickin' Mortal Kombat finishers did kind of shock me at first. I was like, whoa, Square Enix, what has happened? I think they're dope though. Like, I think it really fits the story in the game. Like, I definitely enjoyed them. But I did, at first I was like, whoa, what happened here? Oh, 7 is well, it's not as much goofy as it is comic relief. The whole idea with 7 is that it's a really depressing story that has a lot of really somber moments, but then it breaks it up with comic relief, which is just good storytelling. There's never a moment where the game is trying to be serious and then someone like cracks a joke, you know. It knows when to be serious and when to joke around. 15, not so much. You're driving on your way to the next serious mission and Prompto's like, let's take a selfie. Or, you know, you're wearing a cup noodle hat in the cutscenes. That's just, dude, that's just the product of like modern gaming though. I honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I hate games that let you wear costumes in cutscenes. I hate it. It looks so stupid. Like I never watch a cutscene with my stupid character outfit and think like, oh, this fits. Like, I'm glad they let me do this. Like, never. It's always distracting. Like, it's always stupid. I hate it. Just, I don't really know how to fix it, but it's just, it never, I tend to just completely tune out. It could be Diablo, where like the story doesn't much matter anyways, or it could be a game that the story's supposed to be serious, but either way, I just kind of like tune out when I'm not a character with clothes that make sense. Oh, I'm sure 14's gonna be great. I'm gonna pick the goofiest cat lady and just goof around in all the cutscenes. How's it going, Trev? Happy 4th. I'm gonna have to go cat lady for 14, not gonna lie. I blew my chance with 11, you know? I could have been the cat lady on 11. I didn't do it. I'm not gonna make that mistake again. We gotta go full cat lady for 14. If I had gone cat lady, I would have had a much better time, you know? People would have thought I was a bot and left me alone. I still can't believe, if any of you guys didn't watch the 11 Let's Play, there's this amazing moment where I was like, I bet you all the bots picked the cat lady just because, like, because 11 is like full of bots. They basically make an account and then they just sit in the overworld and like they gather some, I don't know. Maybe they hope that people gift them stuff. I don't know. But I'm like, I bet you the bot accounts all pick the cat lady. And right after I said that, we loaded into the town, and there were like 7 cat ladies all lined up perfectly in a row right where you spawn in. And I was like, oh no. It was so great. But yeah, 11 had a bit of a bot problem. And I was on a server with not a lot of people, and there were just like a lot of bots. Does 14 have a big bot problem? I bet you it does. I bet you it's even worse. Are they all cat ladies? Cat bots? I'm telling you, me being an MMO noob, I'm afraid I'm gonna get like duped live on stream. Some guy's gonna be like, hey, trade me some of your coin. I'm like, okay. And like my account gets hacked. I'm just waiting for it. It's gonna happen. Everyone's gonna make fun of me. He fell for the cat coin thing? Yeah, man, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sid, welcome back. A Stolas from the Dame arrived not long after you left.
Well,
If I'd just waited a little longer, I might have been able to deal with things myself. Or maybe I wouldn't. I keep making the wrong decisions.
Cole and the others got home safely. You made exactly the right decision.
No, I was lucky. I've been tracking that slaver for months, and then I sent Cole and you after them woefully unprepared. What kind of leader sends people into danger without considering all the risks? I should have urged greater caution, told Cole to be wary, to pull back at the first sign of trouble.
We swore the same oath as you, Doris.
It's good to see you safe and well, Cole. I'm sorry.
With all due respect, we Cursebreakers don't risk our lives because you commanded of us. We risk them because we believe in our cause. No one with doubts ever joins our ranks. The agony of removing the brand more than sees to that.
We all know how much bravery that takes.
Cole, I never doubted your courage. Only my ability to see it put to good use. Thank you for your faith in me. I'm not sure I deserve it. I sometimes wonder if I might prefer to risk death alongside the others than ask it of them. But I'm a Cursebreaker. I swore an oath too. I have a role to play, and I must trust that I'm the right one to play it.
You will. In time.
Rising Flames cooldown. Do I want that? I might want that. Let's see. I have Rising Flames damage, attack by 12, Rook's Gambit cooldown. Yeah, I think I'll just keep that. Ooh.
How may I help you today, Clive?
Yeah, I feel like that's the big thing is, you know, ticking the boxes that people expect out of the Final Fantasy series, even if they're a modern Final Fantasy fan and understand that the games have changed and the desire of Square Enix for the future of the series has changed. There are still certain things that you expect to see in a Final Fantasy game, and I don't know if this game checks all those boxes. And it's been kind of hard for me to, like, because I'm not finished with the game yet, but it's been hard for me to, like, describe that in a way that makes sense, but hopefully that makes sense.
Come to claim your just desserts?
But yeah, that doesn't mean Ooh, that's new.
All yours. Come again.
Doesn't mean the
I may
game's
have more
bad.
for
Doesn't
ya.
mean that you're not a Final Fantasy fan if you like it, or you're not a Final Fantasy fan if you dislike it. Like, it's just, there's certain things, and it's not even just Final Fantasy, but just RPGs. You know, you expect equipment to matter in an RPG, and in this game it really doesn't. Stuff like that. So there's just certain things that... But, like I said, I kind of have to finish the game before I can come up with a true collection of all my thoughts. I'm kind of just spitting thoughts as I play. Combo damage. The heck does that mean? Like, just everything? Or like my square combo? That's gotta just be my square combo. I don't think 5% is gonna help very much. Yeah, the lack of elements and the lack of ailments. I think that... I don't want to go into a big spiel about it right now because we talked about it a lot yesterday, but... there are certain RPG elements that you can remove from Final Fantasy and it's okay, right? But the issue is that they could have been implemented and they just didn't. For example, the weapons. They could have easily implemented weapons that do more damage and less stagger, and some weapons that do more stagger and less damage. They chose to have every weapon just have the same numbers. So that's one thing where it's like that there's no excuse for that. You know, they could have had armor that had fire resistance, but they chose to get rid of elements. That's fine, but they didn't replace it with anything. So now the armors are just useless and just dumb, and you just put the one on with the bigger number. They could have had armor that gives you attack instead of health, or less defense but more health versus more health, less defense, or ability defense, or increases your stagger damage, or makes certain abilities do more damage, or makes the cooldown less, or makes your combo do more damage, or makes your staggers last longer, or a million different things. They chose to give it literally nothing. So in that sense, there's no excuse, right? I could come up with an excuse for why this game doesn't have elemental damage. I could come up with an excuse as to why this game doesn't have ailments. But I can't come up with an excuse as to why they didn't replace it with something else. Give us something to look at this armor and be like, okay, I want this one over the other one, etc. You know what I mean? So that's where the issue truly lies. It's not necessarily, oh, the game doesn't have fire damage. Game sucks. It's more of, they removed fire damage, but they didn't replace it with anything else. So now we're just stuck with like just an empty void of an equipment system. You know? And luckily there's still builds in terms of your accessories and your abilities, but that's not an excuse for why the armor is so void of anything, right? And I feel that way with a lot of the game too, with a lot of the other things. The crafting, the items. Hopefully the hunt board is good. So far I've enjoyed it, but we'll see if it ends up actually being good in the end. But a lot of the things in this game, it just feels like they're half-baked. And it's not an excuse to just say, oh, it's an action game, so they removed that. Because they could have easily, like I said, the one that really bothers me is the weapons. Why not just have a weapon that does more stagger damage? That just blows my mind. What, you know, that's such an easy thing to do that doesn't throw into jeopardy anything else in the game. In fact, I personally think if there was a weapon that did 250 stagger damage and 200 attack, that weapon and this weapon would be almost completely the same. Because the way that I've run into fights is that I almost always kill on a stagger. So it barely matters if I'm doing more stagger damage or more attack damage. It's almost always stagger, get them to half health, stagger, kill them. So I'd probably equip a weapon that did more stagger damage, and maybe I'd get a stagger a bit earlier, but then I might not kill them during the stagger, and I have to hit them like 2 more times after the stagger runs out. So like the difference is so small that I cannot come up with an excuse as to why they wouldn't make a sword that has slightly different abilities just to make us think that there's a reason to equip it, you know? Just, you know, it just... There's no way they looked at this and thought, if we make a weapon that has more stagger and less damage, it's going to completely ruin the balance of the game. So that's why we're not going to do it. There's no way. There's no way. It was definitely not a lazy thing, but this is the end of the development cycle. This is what we got. We're just going to go with it. There's no possible way they thought that would unbalance the game, because it wouldn't. It barely matters. These numbers barely matter half the time. At least during the story. So, yeah, it just it's really, really bizarre. Really, really bizarre. Yeah, perhaps. Very, yeah. And the accessories make me think of Strangers of Paradise with their tiny percentages, but at least it's better. At least it's better than Stranger of Paradise. It's not increases damage by 0.01%. Like at least 10% something. I definitely see the difference having this equipped versus not equipped. But would be nice if we could get something that's like really makes a difference.
I hope you didn't have too much trouble finding the ammonia.
I mean, I was saying the other day, maybe they should have just removed all the equipment. You know, if they were truly just going to make it an action game, maybe they should have just removed everything. I know people would have gotten really upset, but what's the point of just having to go into the menu and selecting the next sword in line? At that point, just remove it all and put the dev time towards something else. Put the dev time to having really unique accessories and just have accessories be the build.
Only the usual.
Oh, yes. This is it. And more than I was expecting. I dare say the patient won't feel a thing. That is, unless I...
You'll do fine. Taya trusts you, which means I trust you. The hideaway would be lost without skilled physicers like yourself.
Thank you for the kind words. Truly. But... I'm sorry. I'm still terrified. The brand is more than just ink on flesh. It's a death sentence. Milk of the wyvern tail lurking just below the surface of the skin. One ill-conceived incision, a single slip, and the poison fouls the patient's blood. Failure means death, and even success means tremendous pain. Days of agony as the wound heals. I became a physiker to help people, not to kill them. I don't want to kill anyone.
Cursebreakers lead hard lives, and the operation is only the beginning. They toil in the shadows, risking life and limb, knowing their efforts will win them neither glory nor acclaim. And yet we never won for volunteers. Why do you think that is?
Conviction? They're willing to die?
They're willing to fight. To give their lives to create a world where people like us can be more than mere possessions. I know your work isn't easy, but neither is going under the knife. Be a shoulder for your patients to lean on. Stay strong for them.
You sound like Taya. Do you know what she once told me? It's natural for a patient to feel like they're suffering in solitude. And it's a physicist's duty to see that they don't. Thank you for helping me remember that. I won't falter. Not again.
Yeah, I don't know how much money they spent on the voice acting, but it sure is good. Yo, Zoran. Thank you for the 14 months, man. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, I mean, like, it's gotten a little better now. I had, like, one time where I equipped the crappy sword that I could upgrade to be better than my main sword. But it is truly bizarre how, for pretty much 15 hours, it was get to the next boss, get the next sword, and then the store would literally update with better swords that were worse than the sword I just got from the boss. And that is just like, what are you doing? Like, what are they doing? You literally gave me a better sword for free, and then you took the time to design swords to add to the store that no one would ever buy because they have a free one that's better. Like, it almost feels like someone else designed the store weapons. It's almost like they designed the store weapons, and then at the very end of the development, they were like, let's give them a new sword for every boss fight. And then it just completely ruined all the work they put in. All of them. So, like, when I got the sword from Benedicta, I'm pretty sure the store upgraded with, like, iron swords, which were, like, better than what I had before Benedicta, but not as good as the sword I got from Benedicta. So it was, you know, just complete waste of time to have that be in the store. And then when I got Invictus, everything was useless at that point for a long time.
Litlins have been up to their old tricks again.
But the store continued to update with new stuff, but none of it was better than Invictus. So it's like, what was the point of that?
Jill looked white as a sheet when they
They said it almost feels like part of the dev team created weapons to be updated into the store at certain story intervals, but then, like, at some point during development, they were like, let's give them Invictus at this point. And it just completely nullified half of the development of the store weapons. And they just didn't fix it. They were like, well, maybe they'll just make it seem more realistic. Like, oh man, Invictus is so good that even the store weapons aren't as good. Yeah, and then there's the crafting, which is big yikes, but again, just doesn't seem like that's what they were focused on, you know? We got I think it was the Braveheart, right? Yeah. Braveheart was the pre-order bonus. I did not use it, but if you use that, you're pretty much, like, set for the first, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours. But that's just modern pre-order nonsense. That's not this game's fault. That's just kind of the way every game is now. It's really stupid. Square Enix loves their pre-order bonuses that ruin their games.
Yeah. What's everyone whispering about?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's right. It was after Benedicta, so it's not actually that far in. It's only a few hours in. But yeah, I was saying, like, it would make that first boss a complete joke. Either way, pre-order weapons are just dumb in general. Never understood them. Never will understand them. Let's spend months and months and months perfectly balancing this game and then just ruin that with a pre-order bonus for no reason. And that's your reward. That's your reward for being a fan, is let's ruin the balance of the game. Just nonsense.
Clive, where have you been? I've been wanting to ask you something about Torgal.
He's a dog.
Where did you get him, like, in the first place?
My father brought him back from one of his expeditions into the Northern Territories. They were crossing a snowfield when they heard his cries, and seeing no sign of his pack, they took him in.
What do you reckon, Torms?
It certainly adds weight to the theory. Clive, I believe that Torgal may be no mere hound, but a rare frostwolf, an animal native to the far northern reaches of Valisthea. In one of our oldest bestiaries, I found reference to a frostwolf who served as guardian to an ancient queen of the north. Such was his mastery over ether, he could cast magics on command. His name was Fenrir.
Fenrir the Frostwolf.
Now, the annals do not state it explicitly, but I have reason to believe this queen was a dominant of Shiva, a girl from the Northern Territories and her faithful hound. One awakens as the dominant of Shiva, and the other...
You're saying that Jill granted Torgal his powers?
What?
Just like Fenrir.
What?
People called him my hound, but Torgal and Jill were inseparable. He grew up as a faithful companion to the dominant of Shiva, and years later, his powers awakened, just when his master needed him the most.
You're right. If it weren't for Torgal blasting those bastards to Kingdom Come, Jill would have been for it.
Quite. Though Torgal's power is his own, his latent birthright as a frostwolf, it had only to be unlocked.
Oh, get you, Torgal.
You're an even finer hound than we thought.
Bork.
And regarding your original concern, you need not fear for Torgal's health. Why, the beast has the appetite of a behemoth. Just this very morn, I found him with his nose buried in my nuts.
In your what?
There you are! I've been looking everywhere for you. Bernard's here. I need you to introduce us so we can get to work.
I shall be a moment.
How else would you incentivize people to buy the game before launch? Literally anything. There's like a million different ways. Give them extra content. Give them visual stuff. Give them an extra DLC or like a season pass, or the first DLC is discounted, or... I mean, there's a million different... Physically, you can do a million different things. Digital pre-orders are pretty much stupid, and they shouldn't exist anyways, but physical pre-orders, there's a million things that companies used to do back in the day when we actually got to go to midnight releases. Nowadays, though, the answer is don't do pre-orders, because they're a scam. But if you are going to do a pre-order... There's a million different ways you can do it other than ruining the balance of the game. And I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. There's like pre-orders for like racing games where you get some of the cars or some money or something to start off. And I'm like, what is the point? The entire point of a racing game is to race. Like, You're just gonna take that away? You're gonna, you know, or with a Diablo style game, it'll be you start with some currency, and I'm like, the whole point of the game is to grind. I can't imagine wanting that. Like, what in the world? Why would you want that? That's the entire point of Diablo, is to grind. Why would you want to take away some of your grind? And the list goes on. I mean, there's a million. I think the worst one I ever saw was Ni no Kuni 2, which had like, you got like 7 different weapons to start off, which Ni no Kuni 2 is kind of similar to like Breath of the Wild, where you just constantly get weapons and like swap them out. But it gave you like 7 unique, really strong weapons that just made the early game like a joke. And part of the mechanic of the game is finding weapons and using them. So it just completely took away that mechanic for the first pretty good chunk of the game. It's so bizarre. I don't know why they continue to do it. I just don't get it. But here it's even weirder because it's not like the Braveheart has any kind of unique ability or anything. It's just a weapon with big numbers. So your reward for buying the game early is you get a weapon with big numbers, which you get the entire game, but you just get a different one with different numbers. It ruins the balance of the start of the game, and then that's it. Once you get a weapon with bigger numbers, it's useless. So what? I mean, all you get is the look of it, really, which it does look kind of cool, but that's all you're getting. And who cares what it looks like, because it sucks. So it's not like you're going to equip it post game to look at it. But nowadays, most people don't want to pre-order at all because we've gotten burned too many times by pre-orders. And in today's age, we're lucky if a game functions. You know, I pre-ordered this game because the Final Fantasy VII Remake functioned on day one. And I expected this game to function on day one, and it did. So I'm happy with my pre-order of this game. But this is the only game I've pre-ordered in a very long time, and it's the only one I will pre-order for a very long time, because I don't trust companies to release games that are finished. I don't trust them. If I pre-order the game, all I'm doing is I get to play the game while it's broken for a bit. You know, I get to experience the brokenness before it gets fixed. That's my only reason to pre-order a game. If I want to play it as intended, I should be waiting a week before buying it. So, you know, I pre-ordered this game, and I'm pretty happy with my pre-order, to be honest. But I don't plan on pre-ordering much else this year or next year until companies start finishing games. But I knew that they'd finish this game. I had hope. I had trust that they'd finish this game after playing the remake and seeing how polished it was. And I was right to assume that. This game is finished. I've had no issues, no bugs, no glitches. I haven't heard of anyone having issues. The game is not even updated yet, from what I understand. I didn't see it update at all. I am very happy that they took what they did with the remake and they did it with this game as well. They made a finished video game. And that's more than I can say for most AAA companies right now. So I'm happy with that, you know. That's all I can really ask for. When I pay $70 for a game, it's like, please just function. It's 1.02. I'll have to see. I wonder if they posted what they fixed. Yeah, just a day one patch. Remake got like a week one patch, didn't it? And it was just, apparently, I thought it was supposed to fix the vent glitch, but I don't think it actually did. So I don't even know what it fixed, but oh man, it's insane. It really is. And I see more and more, see shiny. I see more and more interviews with people saying, with like developers or people high up in Sony and Microsoft saying stuff like, we need to make sure we have a quality game before we ship it. And it's like, you knew it wasn't quality. You know, that's not the problem. The problem isn't that you didn't know it was quality. The problem is you knew it wasn't quality and you shipped it because you knew it would sell and you knew the backlash would be worth it. That's the problem. No one is playing frickin' Cyberpunk before release and going, yeah, this is ready. You know, no one. No one's playing that vampire game and thinking, oh, this will go well. They're thinking the amount this sells will be worth the backlash versus working on it longer. If we work on it longer and release it, we'll make $1 million. If we release it now, we'll make $800,000 and get some backlash. But that $200,000 is worth it, worth the gap. If we work on it for an extra couple months, that'll take more money than $200,000. You know what I mean? I'm just making up numbers, but the amount of money it would take to fix it is not worth the amount they would get. So it's better to just release it, get the backlash, and in the end, they make more money. So that's the decision that's being made. And that's the decision that needs to stop being made. They need to, at some point, defend their quality as a company, because it's getting to the point where people are not buying games from certain companies because they're known to do that. So, you know, the decision has to be made at some point to defend your company's name. Because the integrity is at an all-time low. And sometimes the decision is harder, like with Cyberpunk. You know, they were already getting backlash for delaying it, so at that point they kind of had to release it. But Redfall, no one would have been upset if they pushed it back. It was not a game that everyone was waiting on bated breath for. They had not been pushed back yet, from what I understand. So delaying Redfall would have been 100% the best decision for their integrity of the company. They chose to release it because money. So there has to be a time where we decide we need to defend our company more. And they're on the edge at this point. I think Blizzard is on the edge. I think EA is on the edge, where at this point people are not buying their games because they're made by that company. They're running out of integrity to sell. You know what I'm saying? They are running out of integrity. It's getting to the point where it's like we're just not going to buy their games anymore. Luckily, Arcane had nothing but good games before Redfall, so they're probably okay. They'll probably, as long as the next game they make is good, they'll probably redeem themselves. But I've heard some bad things about Blizzard, man. Like, it's getting rough with Blizzard. They are lucky, not lucky, but they are very fortunate that Diablo 4 is going well, because they were on thin ice before Diablo 4. I was telling my cousin, I think if Diablo 4 was bad, it would have been the end of Blizzard. And maybe that's an exaggeration because Blizzard is so big, but I don't know, man. People were mad at Blizzard. And Diablo 4 was like their final Hail Mary. I think there would have been a real problem with Blizzard moving forward if 4 wasn't good. That was like their final hope. So hopefully they don't ruin it within a year, because they needed that. They needed a game that people enjoyed. It was getting rough. It still is rough. I still hear a lot of people saying they're just not going to buy Blizzard games anymore.
It is.
And I don't blame them.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you. You and everyone else. But I promise I'll pay you back. I'm gonna work my fingers to the bone for you lot, starting right now. Just you wait. I'll make wonders like this world's never seen.
I'm interested in this. Because what else could we possibly be getting here?
Now that that's settled, I wonder if Vivian's made any progress tracking down Kupka.
Nothing. At least not yet. Mid's dungeon is what they call it. What's she cooking up in that dungeon? We'll see. Yeah, like I said, I say that now, but knowing how the industry is, in a couple of years, everyone will be bowing down to Blizzard again, but I will say the backlash feels worse this time. There's been many times where Blizzard got backlash and then everyone just showed up to the next Blizzard con and bowed down at their feet when they said the word Diablo, or bowed down at their feet when they created Overwatch. Like, but this time it feels different, you know? This time it feels like people are truly upset. Like, I've heard more people say I'm done with Blizzard than I've ever heard before. More like talks of straight up just not buying games that they would normally buy. And like the backlash of Diablo Immortal was so insane too. Like unreal. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think Blizzard's ever gonna be like, we're bankrupt, guys. But at the same time, I really think their fall from grace is for real this time. And I feel the same way with EA and even Activision. I'm still blown away with Activision. Oh my god, like... Then of course, now Activision is Blizzard. But if Blizzard wasn't getting enough heat, holy cow, Activision is just underwater at this point. Good lord. I mean, luckily Modern Warfare 2 is doing well, but Vanguard was the biggest joke of a video game I've ever seen. To the point where they couldn't even get the Battle Pass to release on time. They couldn't even get the thing that makes them the money out on time. Put that in perspective. Like, they couldn't even scam people. It was so bad, they couldn't even scam people. Like, it was a disaster. And it was so bad that they said that they didn't release a Call of Duty. They said they weren't going to release a Call of Duty the next year to recoup. Which I think I'm not sure if they ended up like going back on that or how Modern Warfare 2 fit into that, but it was the first time they said we're going to skip a year since like Call of Duty 4. That's just wild. Like, holy cow, how have they fallen from grace that far?
How goes the hunt for Kupka?
Largely in circles. We have myriad sightings of strange soldiers in unexpected places, but nothing definitive as yet. If only we knew for certain by what route he left Rosalith.
Well, keep at it. If anyone can piece this puzzle together, it's you. And I'm willing to wait as long as it takes.
I'll just stand here and wait.
What? Here?
Would that be a problem?
Do you know, Clive, I believe it a mercy that you didn't inherit your father's throne. Your poor people would surely live in fear of you.
You have nothing to worry about on that front. I won't be claiming his crown.
That is a relief.
Clive, have you got a minute? We, have a guest.
A guest?
Yeah, the Microsoft thing is pretty interesting. They got blocked by an antitrust law. And I'm kind of curious as to where that goes. Because they said they're going to fight it. That's what they said in their interview. But even if it ends up going through, it's going to be such a long time before we actually see the result of it that I'm kind of curious what the next couple of years are going to look like. Activision said, and they could always go back on this, but I'm pretty sure Activision said that Call of Duty would continue releasing on everything, at least for a really long time. And they were saying, like, just because we're acquiring doesn't mean that we don't understand the value of selling to multiple platforms. So it sounds like it's not a play of like we want to take over the industry and keep everything for ourselves, but it's more of just an economic thing. But you never know. They could go back on that. They could say, you know, Call of Duty and everything Blizzard, Diablo and everything is Xbox only from here on out in a couple of years. But like I said, that would be a really long time in the future. And at that point, I'm not even sure consoles are going to look the same way as they do now. So it's very interesting, though, to think about.
For your trouble.
It was a pleasure, in hindsight.
Uncle Byron? Clive, my boy! Tap a cask and stoke the ovens for your favorite uncle is here!
Stoke the ovens!
The Dalmekian government sues for peace. How shall we respond?
If they're willing to accept their fault in the matter, I see no reason to refuse them.
Still, we must insist on substantial reparations. Twinside stores are not as bottomless as reported.
Aye, and we have many more mouths to feed. We shall just have to have the Dalmeks empty their treasuries for us.
Of course, none of this would have been possible without your timely intervention, Prince Olivier.
Indeed, I doubt any of us would have had the courage to trade words with the mighty Titan, nor less the wit to win him over.
The Empire owes you a great debt.
May the blessing of the crystals go with you, Your Highness.
May the blessing of the crystals go with you.
Very good.
Dude, this court just kills me every time.
Now, let us come to the question of precisely when the Dalmeks will withdraw their troops.
Dion's fire could rid us of them in mere moments. The men of the Fist will not withdraw until a peace treaty is concluded. So let us keep the negotiations open, give them time to gather what gold and trinkets they can, and once they deliver that which we demand, what worth is a piece of parchment?
Your Radiance, were Prince Dion to take the field, the enemy would surely send their own dominant to meet him. And while His Highness would of course prevail, there would be heavy losses on both.
You need not fear Hugo Kupka. He is engaged on the Western Front. Even were the Dalmeks to send for him, he would not arrive in time. As much as I would enjoy witnessing a clash between Bahamut and Titan, it is not to be.
And what of your subjects, Your Radiance? If the fighting spread to the city proper, the people would bear the brunt of it.
There will be losses, it is true. Yet for every citizen who falls,
another can be bred. For every home that burns, another can be built. The Empire will live on. Dion?
Yes, sire.
Prepare for battle.
But sire...
Do not make me repeat myself. Return to your camp and await my orders.
If that is your wish, your Radiance, I shall depart at once. May Gregor forgive you.
What do the astrologers augur?
The stars are in agreement, Your Radiance. The shadow of treachery hangs over Prince Dion.
So Annabella's tales were true. You disappoint me, Dion.
What on earth is Uncle Byron doing here? Only
Dude.
one way to find out.
She is so evil. It's so good. Like, I'm just continually blown away with how well they are dealing with the villains in this game.
The little ones have been up to
They are
one
100%
thing after another
the
around
highlight.
here.
They're setting up Dion to be pretty cool too. Like, I'm curious what's gonna happen. It sounded like... So it sounded like Annabella didn't actually tell the Emperor about... Because she had already had a deal with Titan to not show up regardless. So I don't know if he was just saying that to them, or if he legitimately didn't know. He might have just been saying that to them, to the court. But man, that court just kills me every time. It's so great. They're always just like, okay, we should do this. Yeah, yeah, we should. Okay, this makes perfect sense. Everything's aligning. And the Emperor's just always like, or we could just kill him. And they all go, what? It's like every single scene. Like, why do you even have them in your court? They never agree with you. They're like trying their best, and then he just says some stupid crap. Like, I don't even know if it's like being evil to be evil, but it seems like he always does the opposite of what they say just to be the opposite. They come up with something and he's just like, all right, I'm gonna do exactly the opposite of what you guys are saying. It does feel like he's dumb. Like, it does feel like he's just being controlled by Annabella. Like, he just kind of has no idea what's going on. Like, he has like he's not dumb, but he's like blind to his power. He just wants to use his power. And Annabella's sitting there just biding her time to when she can take it. And I think she knows that he's just kind of a blind power slave, so she's just biding her time, letting him make all the wrong decisions so that she can take over. But he does seem a bit incompetent. Because, like, even it was obvious that Dion didn't want to. And he already had worries that he was going to betray him because Annabella told him. And then he has him do that. Maybe he was just testing it. Maybe that's... Hold on. Wait. Back up. Back it up. Maybe he's actually smart. Not smart, but maybe he isn't incompetent. And instead, what he was doing was Annabella had told him that Dion was going to betray him. And so he was like, let's test that. So even though the whole court was like, let's just have them give them their treasuries and then have them resign and do a peace treaty, he was like, let's send Dion on the front line, even though it'll put his people at risk, to test his loyalty to the throne. So that's why he disagreed. He doesn't want a peace treaty, because he wanted to test Dion's loyalty. That's probably what it was. So it's not that he's incompetent, it's that he's willing to sacrifice people of his own kingdom just to test his son's loyalty. So he sends him out on the front lines. And to test what Annabella said. But apparently, whatever the guy said to him, the stars or whatever, they read the stars or something, and he just trusts that blindly. As soon as he said the star of whatever was over Dion's head, treachery, the star of treachery was above Dion's head, he immediately believed that. He was like, oh, so what Annabella said was true. So that's interesting. But yeah, I think he was just testing his son, actually. I don't think he's like that incompetent. I think he just was testing his son. But that earlier scene where they were all arguing about what to do and he was just kind of like, let's fight instead. That seemed like a bit of incompetency or just blind power hungriness. So he's definitely not the best leader, but I do think that maybe there he was just testing his son. But no, I agree. I think he was just straight up dumb earlier, or at least just... Like, I don't think dumb is the right word. I think it's just that he's so power hungry and so, like, nothing can touch me, I'm invincible, I'm the emperor, that he just kind of does whatever he feels like doing. You know what I mean? He has no fear of making the wrong decisions. He just, I want to see some big boom explosions, so send Bahamut in there, you know? It's not that he's, like, dumb in, like, a sense of, like, his brain doesn't function. It's more of just he doesn't care. He's just blindly power hungry. But yeah, I think in that instance, it wasn't necessarily him just making choices on a whim. I think that he's actually testing his son's loyalty. Because that's obviously means a lot to him. I mean, being the king, that's like your number one concern is who's going to take over your throne. So he's testing his son's loyalty because that's what's most important. The little boy we don't know much about yet. He just started being a thing. We saw him in a previous scene, and Annabella said that she wants him to take over the throne in Titan's realm. So I think that he's like a puppet that she can control, or just her son, therefore he will listen to her. So her plan is to put him in power so that she can have power of that kingdom and probably kill the emperor at some point and take control of the empire, and then she'll have control of practically half the planet, half the world at that point. That's her, like, evil scheme. I think the reason they said that is she probably said that it was him that did it, because she's setting up him to be the king. So even though she made the deal with Titan, when they asked her, she probably said, "Oh, it was all the kid." That way, she's setting him up to be like a leader. So she just pretends like he did it because she wants him to be in the good graces of everyone, because she wants him to take over. That's my guess. We didn't see that, but that's my guess. And that's why they were like, "Oh, thank God he did it." Because she's the queen. Doesn't matter what she does. She's already the queen. She can't get higher, you know, but he can. So she's stuck in her placement at the moment, but she can put him into power by making him look good. So that's my guess. I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. They're so incompetent that they don't even understand that he could. I don't know. The queen said it though. How are they gonna distrust it? You know, they kind of are forced to believe it no matter what. Queen said it, so. Oh my god, that court cracks me up. They just like blindly believe everything, and they blindly like think that their plans are gonna be listened to by the king, and then every time he's just like, no. Anyways, this is a good place to stop because we're about to have funny, goofy time with Uncle. So let's go get lunch, and then we'll continue on.